The wind never rests in places like this. It comes down from the high peaks in long, cold rivers of air, sweeping through the valleys, combing the forests, erasing the tracks of anything that dares to cross the snow. In the remote wilderness of the northern mountains, there are places where humanity has barely set foot. Vast valleys carved by ancient glaciers, forests older than any city, storms powerful enough to bury roads, villages, even history itself. For thousands of years, these places have remained largely untouched. And according to one controversial theory, that is not an accident. Because deep within these forests, something may be watching us. Not hunting, not hiding, watching. Across the world, legends speak of a towering creature living in the wilderness. In North America it is called Bigfoot. In the Himalayas, the Yeti. In Russia, the Almasty. Descriptions are remarkably consistent. A massive figure, covered in dark hair, walking upright like a human, yet far stronger. Witnesses often report something even stranger. The creature does not behave like an animal. It observes, it studies, and then it disappears, almost as if it never wanted to be seen at all. For decades, scientists have tried to explain these reports. Some suggest misidentified bears. Others believe the stories are simply folklore, exaggerated by imagination. But there is another theory, a theory that moves far beyond zoology, and into something far more unsettling. What if Bigfoot is not simply an undiscovered species? What if it was placed here? According to this hypothesis, the story begins tens of thousands of years ago, during a time when two human species walked the earth, Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. Neanderthals were powerful, intelligent, and perfectly adapted to harsh environments. But around 40,000 years ago, they vanished, or so we believe. Yet some researchers propose a different possibility. What if small populations of Neanderthals did not disappear at all? What if they were preserved, hidden away in the most remote wilderness regions on Earth? But preserved by whom? This is where the theory takes a dramatic turn. Some researchers believe that long ago, an advanced extraterrestrial civilization took an interest in Earth, not to conquer it, not to colonize it, but to observe it, to study the rise of intelligent life, to watch the long, unpredictable experiment of human civilization. And if that were the case, they might have needed observers, guardians capable of surviving in the harshest environments, creatures intelligent enough to understand what they saw, yet distant enough from humanity to remain separate from it. In other words, the perfect watchers. Neanderthals may have been the foundation, their natural strength, endurance, and intelligence already suited for survival. But according to the theory, extraterrestrial intervention altered them, enhanced them, guided their evolution, creating a hybrid species uniquely adapted to life in the wilderness, stronger than humans, more resilient than any primate, and capable of avoiding detection with remarkable skill. The beings we now call Bigfoot. If this theory is correct, these creatures would not simply be animals. They would be something far more extraordinary, a living monitoring system, observers stationed across the wild places of Earth, watching humanity as it spreads across continents, builds cities, and transforms the planet. Not interfering, only observing, recording, waiting. And perhaps that would explain one of the most puzzling aspects of Bigfoot sightings: why they are so rarely captured. Despite thousands of reported encounters, clear evidence remains frustratingly elusive. No bodies, no confirmed DNA, No undeniable photographs. Almost as if something is deliberately staying just beyond our reach. In places like this frozen valley, where storms erase every footprint within minutes, it is easy to imagine how a hidden population might survive undetected. The wilderness is vast. Human exploration is limited. And there are still millions of square kilometers of forest and mountain where almost no one ever goes. If a species wished to remain unseen, this would be the perfect place to do it. But the deeper question remains. If Bigfoot truly exists, and if it was created or guided by extraterrestrial intelligence, then what exactly are these creatures watching for? Are they simply studying us? Monitoring our technological progress? Observing the fragile balance of our civilization? Or are they waiting for something? Because if the forest watchers are real, then humanity may not be the only intelligence observing the future of this planet. Somewhere beyond the storms, beyond the forests, something else may be watching too. And the watchers in the wilderness may only be the beginning. Far from cities, beyond highways and satellite towers, there are forests so vast that a person could walk for weeks without seeing another human being. In valleys like this, where rivers wind through endless evergreens, time moves differently. Mist rises slowly from cold water. The wind whispers through the pine needles. And the land remembers things far older than our modern world. Because long before satellites scanned these mountains, long before explorers mapped the rivers, the first humans who lived here told stories about beings in the forest. Tall beings, quiet beings, watchers. Across North America, many indigenous traditions speak of large, human-like creatures living deep within the wilderness. Not monsters, not animals, but another kind of people. Among some tribes they were described as the silent forest walkers. Among others, the elders of the woods. Creatures that avoided human settlements, but seemed aware of everything that happened within their territory. These beings were rarely seen directly, but they were often felt. A sudden silence in the forest. A sense of being watched. A shadow moving between trees just beyond the edge of sight. Modern witnesses report something remarkably similar. Hikers in remote regions sometimes describe a powerful presence in the forest, moments before catching a glimpse of a massive upright figure slipping silently between the trees. Hunters have reported finding enormous footprints near rivers like this one, pressed deep into mud or sandbars, appearing overnight and vanishing just as quickly. And then there are the sounds. Low knocks on distant trees. Strange calls echoing through valleys at night. Signals, some researchers believe, that could represent a complex form of communication. If Bigfoot were simply an undiscovered primate, these behaviors would already be extraordinary. But if the forest watchers' theory is correct, they may serve an entirely different purpose. Imagine a network of observers scattered across the wilderness of the planet, hidden within mountain ranges, deep inside forests, along river valleys where humans rarely travel, beings capable of moving silently through terrain that humans struggle to cross, creatures intelligent enough to understand human activity, yet patient enough to watch civilization unfold over thousands of years. In essence, living sentinels, placed within the natural world. And if these watchers truly descend from Neanderthal ancestors, their intelligence may be far greater than we assume. Neanderthals were not primitive. Archaeological discoveries show they created tools, buried their dead, and may even have possessed language. Now imagine that intelligence combined with tens of thousands of years of adaptation to wilderness environments. An intelligence that learned to remain unseen, to move silently, to watch from the shadows. Some researchers believe this might explain a curious pattern. Bigfoot sightings are rarely random. They often occur near waterways, rivers, lakes, remote mountain valleys, places like the one before us now. Water provides food, concealment, and natural travel routes through dense forests. But it also offers something else: observation points. From riverbanks and ridgelines, a hidden observer could watch travelers pass through the valley without ever being detected. There is another mystery as well. Many witnesses describe brief moments of eye contact, moments when the creature seems to pause, studying the human observer with intense curiosity. Not aggression, not fear, curiosity, almost as if the encounter is being evaluated. If the forest watcher's theory is correct, such moments may represent something extraordinary. Not merely an animal encounter, but a meeting between two intelligent species, one that built cities, and one that chose the wilderness, one that reshaped the planet, and one that has watched quietly from the shadows as history unfolded. For thousands of years, these watchers may have remained hidden in places like this, valleys where rivers carve their slow paths through ancient forests, places where storms erase tracks, and distance hides secrets. But a troubling question remains. If these beings were placed here to observe humanity, who placed them here? And more importantly, are those distant observers still watching today? In the next segment, the investigation turns to one of the most mysterious aspects of Bigfoot encounters: the strange reports of UFO sightings occurring near Bigfoot activity. Are these two mysteries somehow connected? Or could the watchers in the forest still be receiving visitors from far beyond our world? In the deep wilderness, there are places where the forest seems almost aware. Small clearings where the trees part just enough for sunlight to reach the ground. Places where the air grows strangely still, where birds fall silent, and where the feeling of being watched becomes impossible to ignore. For those who study the mystery of Bigfoot, locations like this are not random. They appear again and again in witness reports. Remote forest clearings, natural gathering points hidden deep within the wilderness, places where something or someone might meet unseen. For decades, researchers have noticed a curious pattern in many Bigfoot encounters: strange lights. Witnesses exploring remote forests sometimes report glowing objects moving silently above the trees. Not airplanes, not satellites, but small spheres or disc-shaped craft that appear briefly, hovering over the forest canopy, before vanishing into the sky. Even more curious, these sightings often occur near locations where Bigfoot activity has been reported. Footprints, tree knocks, mysterious vocalizations echoing through the valleys at night. Two mysteries appearing in the same places. Some investigators believe this is more than coincidence. According to the forest watcher's theory, these clearings may serve as something extraordinary: contact points, remote locations where the watchers of the wilderness occasionally meet their creators. If extraterrestrial intelligence once guided the evolution of a hidden observer species on Earth, communication would still be necessary. Instructions, monitoring, updates, and the best place for such encounters would not be cities or open plains. It would be here, in places like this. Deep forest clearings, hidden beneath thousands of square kilometers of wilderness. Locations far beyond the reach of roads, cameras, or curious hikers. Several eyewitness accounts describe unsettling encounters in such environments. People camping deep in the forest sometimes report hearing heavy footsteps circling their campsite during the night. branches snapping in the darkness, large shapes moving just beyond the glow of the firelight. And then silence. When morning arrives, the forest looks normal again, except for one detail: massive footprints appearing in soft earth near the edge of the trees. Footprints that seem to approach, observe, and then disappear back into the forest. But in a few cases, witnesses describe something even stranger. Moments when a towering figure stands quietly at the edge of the clearing, watching, not attacking, not threatening, simply observing, as if the humans themselves were the subject of a study. Some researchers believe this behavior supports the idea that Bigfoot are not simply animals hiding from us. They may be conducting observations, watching how humans behave in the wilderness, studying our movements, evaluating our presence, just as a field scientist might observe wildlife without disturbing it. If this interpretation is correct, then encounters between humans and these watchers may represent brief moments when two separate worlds overlap: the world of civilization and the hidden world of the observers, a world that may have existed quietly alongside humanity for tens of thousands of years. But the most unsettling question may still lie ahead. Because if Bigfoot truly serve as watchers placed on Earth long ago, then what exactly are they watching for? Are they monitoring the growth of human civilization, tracking our technological progress, or waiting for a moment when something important changes? As humanity spreads deeper into the last wild places of the planet, encounters with these mysterious figures may slowly become more common. More witnesses, more reports, more questions, and perhaps, eventually, answers. But until that day arrives, the watchers remain where they have always been, hidden in the forests, moving silently between the trees, observing a species that may not yet realize it is being studied. In the next segment, we examine a disturbing possibility. What if the watchers are not simply observing humanity, but protecting the planet from humanity? Could Bigfoot be guardians placed here to monitor and possibly intervene in the future of civilization itself? From high above, the wilderness stretches to the horizon. Endless forests, rivers carving quiet paths through valleys, mountains rising in silent layers toward distant skies. For most of human history, landscapes like this covered much of the planet. But over the past few centuries, something has changed. Cities have expanded. Forests have fallen. Roads now cut through places that were once untouched. Human civilization is spreading across Earth faster than ever before. And if the forest watchers theory is true, something in the wilderness may have been observing that expansion from the very beginning. Consider the role these beings might serve. If an advanced extraterrestrial intelligence once placed observers on Earth, their mission may not simply have been to study humanity. They may also have been tasked with monitoring the health of the planet itself. After all, Earth is not just a home for one species. It is a vast living system. Forests, rivers, oceans, an intricate balance that supports millions of forms of life. And in only a few thousand years, humans have begun to reshape that system dramatically. If the watchers in the wilderness were placed here long ago, they may have witnessed every step of that transformation. The first human fires burning across ancient plains, the rise of agriculture, the clearing of forests, the construction of cities, roads, and machines. From the perspective of beings who may measure time in tens of thousands of years, human civilization has appeared almost overnight, a sudden and unpredictable force spreading rapidly across the planet. And that leads to a troubling possibility. What if the watchers are not simply studying us, but evaluating us? In some Bigfoot encounter reports, witnesses describe unusual behavior. The creature does not attack. It does not flee immediately. Instead, it watches, calmly, intently, almost as if assessing the human observer. Some researchers interpret these moments as brief evaluations, small encounters that allow the watchers to learn about the species that now dominates the Earth. There are also curious reports of Bigfoot activity near areas of environmental disturbance, remote logging sites, mining operations, regions where forests are rapidly disappearing. Witnesses sometimes report massive figures appearing briefly near such locations before vanishing back into the wilderness. If these accounts are accurate, it raises a remarkable possibility that the watchers may be paying close attention to how humanity treats the natural world. Imagine an ancient monitoring system placed on Earth long before modern civilization existed. Observers hidden across the wilderness, quietly recording the behavior of a rapidly evolving species. Watching, measuring, waiting. If such a system exists, it would not need to interfere often. Observation alone might be enough. But it could also serve another purpose. A warning system. If human civilization ever reached a point where its actions threatened the stability of the planet, the watchers might signal those who placed them here. Those distant creators, who may still be observing Earth from far beyond our skies. For now, this remains only a theory. But the mystery continues to grow. Because despite centuries of exploration, the wilderness still holds secrets. Millions of square kilometers of forest remain largely unexplored. And somewhere within those forests, enormous footprints continue to appear. Large figures are occasionally glimpsed moving silently between the trees. And strange signals echo through the valleys at night. If the forest watchers truly exist, then humanity may not be alone in shaping the future of this planet. Somewhere in the wilderness, observers may still be standing watch. Guardians of the forests. Witnesses to the rise of civilization. Waiting to see what humanity does next. In the final segment of this investigation, we confront the ultimate question. If Bigfoot truly exists, and if it was created to monitor humanity, what happens if the watchers decide our civilization has gone too far? Across the wild landscapes of Earth, rivers continue their quiet journey. They carve their way through mountains, through forests older than any nation, through valleys that have witnessed the rise and fall of entire civilizations. For tens of thousands of years, these landscapes have remained largely unchanged. But humanity has not. In the brief span of recorded history, we have transformed the planet. We have crossed oceans, split the atom, built cities that glow so brightly they can be seen from space. And as human civilization expands deeper into the last wild places on Earth, we are beginning to enter territories that may never have belonged entirely to us. Territories where, according to some theories, the watchers still remain. If Bigfoot truly exists, and if the forest watchers theory holds even a fragment of truth, then humanity may share this planet with another intelligent species, one that has remained hidden in the wilderness for thousands of years, watching, observing, learning. From the perspective of such beings, humanity's rise must appear astonishing. In only a few thousand years, we have become the dominant force on Earth. We have reshaped ecosystems, redirected rivers, altered the atmosphere itself. To us, these changes represent progress. But to an outside observer, they might raise serious questions. If the watchers were placed here by an advanced extraterrestrial civilization, Their mission may have been simple: observe the development of intelligent life, record the evolution of human civilization, and report if something unusual occurred. For tens of thousands of years, the observers may have watched quietly as humanity struggled, adapted, and slowly advanced. But today, humanity stands at a very different point in its history. We now possess technologies capable of altering the entire planet. Artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, nuclear weapons, space travel. The same species that once struggled to survive the Ice Age is now capable of reshaping the future of Earth itself. And that may raise an unsettling possibility. What if the Watchers are not merely observing the past? What if they are evaluating the future? Some researchers speculate that encounters between humans and these mysterious forest beings may be rare moments when two branches of intelligence briefly intersect. One that chose technology, and one that remained within nature. Two evolutionary paths, diverging tens of thousands of years ago, now meeting again in the forests of the modern world. But perhaps the most important question is not whether Bigfoot exists. The deeper question may be this: what are the Watchers waiting for? If humanity continues to expand, if the last wilderness regions disappear, if the balance of Earth's ecosystems begins to collapse, would the Watchers simply continue observing? Or would they signal those who placed them here long ago? Those distant observers, who may still be watching the progress of our civilization from somewhere beyond the stars. Of course, there is also another possibility. Perhaps the Watchers are not waiting to judge us. Perhaps they are waiting to see whether humanity will learn to live in balance with the world it inherited. Whether a species capable of building cities and exploring space can also learn to protect the forests, rivers, and mountains that gave it life. For now, the Watchers remain where they have always been. In the forests, along the rivers, hidden among mountains where storms erase every trace of their passing. Occasionally glimpsed, rarely understood, always watching. And somewhere, deep within valleys like this one, as the river continues its quiet journey through the wilderness, a silent observer may still be standing among the trees, watching the most unpredictable experiment in the history of this planet, human civilization, and waiting to see what happens next.